Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Yes, I'm back here. Big old bucket here, and I bet you're wondering what in the world are we talking about today and what in the world do I have? Well, I am going to be really honest here. Truth be told, you know when you go and you do some quilting and you have the leftover from your project, you know, whether it's cut before or after you're done quilting, you have some possible leftovers from that quilt. Yeah, that's what this bucket is. It is one of the buckets that I throw everything into, and I'm thinking I'll deal with it later because I won't throw it out. Because if I can utilize this, I'm going to save money where I can again buy more fabric. So all of this is just a hunk of a mess. I've got Quilter's Dream in here. I've got Hobbs in here. I've got 100% cotton. I even have some fusible in here. I've got 80/20. It's a mess. So this video, this week, I'm going to show you how to take your scraps and put them together to make something big enough for you to utilize in your next project so that you can get through those scraps and save some money. But the first thing I want to talk about, listen, this year I'm all about developing systems, and I am developing a system for all this batting. You do not want to mix and match batting, and here's the reason why. First and foremost, when you're quilting, they may have different lofts, right? So you'll be quilting along if you mix and match some of your batting together, and some sides will be more puffy, some sides will be more flat. It'll just look distorted. Not a good idea. Second reason you don't want to is that each different types of batting may have a different standard of how far apart you can quilt. So some might say 3 inches, some might say 8 inches. If you mix and match and quilt 8 inches apart and something in there is 3 inches, you're going to have a mess later. And that brings me to the third reason that you don't want to mix and match. And that reason is because it may have a different shrinkage inside when you launder your quilt. So you may have something that shrinks a lot and maybe something that doesn't shrink as much. But if you just conglomerate all them together, it may cause catastrophes in your quilt later down the road once it's been laundered a few times. So we don't want to mix and match. So this is a bucket of craziness. I don't know. I can kind of tell, but I don't know for sure, right? So one of the systems I'm developing is to take part of a label of quilting batting and put it all together. So if I have Quilter's Dream 100%, I'm going to put all of that together so I know that those are all the same batting. And on that label, it will have how far I can stitch, you know, what the recommended furthest maximum area of stitch is. So I have all the information that I need. So that's part of the plan. Now, if I don't have the label or the label's not conducive to saving, I'm going to take a piece of paper, whether it's a Post-it note or an index card, but I'm going to put it with that particular batting, write all the information that I need so that in the future I know what I need to do and what needs to happen and what it is, and keep those all separate. So that's the first thing, is making sure you're not mixing and matching. You get some kind of organized fashion, but dear goodness, do not throw your scraps out. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to bring you into the sewing machine, okay? But I'm going to talk to you about how to definitely get your scraps put together. Now, the first thing I want to say to you is that this is my method. There is a bazillion jillion. Some people use bias tape. Some people use some kind of a fusible to fuse them together. Pat Salone doesn't even do any of that. She doesn't stitch it. She doesn't fuse it. She doesn't anything. She just overlaps it. I want to say 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Don't remember exactly which, but she just overlays it, and when it's basted and quilted, she feels that that's just enough. There is many methods, just like everything else in quilting. It's what makes sense to you and what you're comfortable with and what you feel works. This is another one of those types. However, I'm going to show you today my method and what I'm comfortable with. And you can try. You can try it out, see if it works for you, and go out and see what others are doing and try their methods. But this is mine. So the first thing I want to talk to you about, when I very first started doing this, I just used my general pressing foot. I am going to use a zigzag stitch. So any foot that you use, you need to make sure that you have that foot, whether it's an open toe, your general presser, any foot that has that larger hole in it so that you can allow the zigzag to happen, okay? It's very, very important. So I'm going to show you first with my general pressing foot, but then I got to tell y'all, I was doing my own little research. I've been doing this for a little bit, but I was, watching videos, like we all do. And I don't know what foot it was because I didn't have it for my machine. But it had this little thingy thing in there, and it just made it look so much easier. Well, I didn't have that foot, but I do have a couple of feet, but this is the one that works. I have a blind hem foot. And I will show you a picture of both of these feet so that you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to bring you in. I'm first going to show you how I do this with a general presser. And then during the video, I will switch feet. Doesn't take long. I got the snaps. And show you what I do with the blind hem. But we first have to, in my method, prep your batting. So I have a couple of pieces here. And by the way, I've loaded on black Aurifil thread. This is not black batting. I would not recommend that you use something that's going to stand out. I would try to match your batting. This would work really well with the light beige of Aurifil. My white batting, I'd use a white thread. You just want to make sure you're trying to hide some of those threads. But you're going to have a couple of pieces here, and for me, I want a straight line. Well, even before that, if it's in a bucket like mine, you're going to have a mess and you're going to have wrinkles and distortions. I'll tell you what works, at least for me. I throw it in the dryer for a little bit. Relaxes those fibers. All is well. So get it all as pretty as possible. Then I actually put the two pieces that I want to put together on top of each other, okay? Kind of like when you're patchworking. I'm going to put a ruler down, and I'm going to give myself a straight edge on either side, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want something that you can work with. Now this, I'll throw away. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them together and make sure that I'm going to have something really pretty to work with. But the next step, I'm going to bring you in and I'm going to show you how I put these two together. So I'll see you in just a sec. I do have my general pressing foot on board here, but I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, some people like to use, when they do this, they like to use their walking foot, and mine I could use. It in fact has a big enough hole for my needle because I'm going to be doing the zigzag stitch. So you want to make sure that the presser foot that you choose to use does in fact have that large hole. I felt like I didn't need to use the walking foot. Might be a good idea because it is a thicker material, but I didn't find it necessary. So I wanted to show that to you first and foremost. I am going to use my general pressing foot. I'm trying to block the light here. And as you see, I do have a big enough hole for the zigzag stitch. So I'm going to load my presser foot. Okay. the general one to begin with. I'm going to show you another one in just a second. All right. Now I also wanted to say that I do have black thread again because I want you to be able to see this, but this isn't typically what I would use. It would either be a white or light beige depending on the color of my batting. Now if in fact I was using black batting, black thread would be so very awesome. But I'm going to set to the zigzag stitch. That's the next step on your machine. And when you do that, what I have found helpful is to make the stitch length as big as it'll go on your machine. Mine will only do a 2.5. And then the length of the zigzag, I leave it what my machine has. It likes 5 as its standard setting, and it works great, so I don't change that. But I do change the stitch length to as high as I could get it. I don't know, some people do use 3 or higher. I can't go any higher, so I don't know how that works. And 2.5 works really well for this, for me. On the presser foot, you won't be able to see this because of the light, but there's like this little divot that tells me where the middle is. I'm going to attempt to line up. When I put these two pieces of batting together, I'm lining up this line right here where that indentation is. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in there. And I'm going to do my best to keep it there. And I'm going to blow this up just a little. There we go. I'm going to hold on to my thread. Now what's important is that you don't push, you don't scrunch because you'll cause puckers. You just want to guide it, guys. So go ahead and get this started. And if you'll notice, I'm going slow because I'm having a hard time seeing that divot from this angle. But you just want to keep them together and basically guide them through. And I'm going to speed up the video now. As you can see, I got off a little bit. And when you get to the end, I'm going to go ahead and cut this, pull this out. But what I want you to see, whoop, let me pull you back out here. Whoa, got a little close. Sorry, guys. Pull you back out. All right. What I want you to see is how flat this is. It's so very, very flat, and it looks gorgeous. And if this matched, you wouldn't see it inside the quilt. I love putting my scraps together like this. Now, as you and I both know, I've talked about this before. I also watch videos, and I've been doing it with the general pressing foot for a while. But now, when I was watching some videos, I saw somebody using a different foot, and I don't remember what it's called because my machine doesn't have it. Doesn't have that foot. My thread came undone here. But I went through my different presser feet, and I found one that I thought might help, and it actually does. It actually works better than a general pressing foot. This right here, and there's another purpose for it, not for this. It's called the blind hem foot. And if you'll notice, it has this extra lip right there, okay? And this is why I found this foot to be a lot helpful. Now you'll also notice a screw right here, and I'm going to show you what that does in just a second. But I'm going to use this to put together 2 more pieces of the batting so you can actually see. And this is my preferred foot now to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and get it loaded. Now this screw right here, if I move it, what you'll see is that, well, maybe you can't. Let me pull you in just a little bit here. You'll see that that white actually moves. That white piece will move around, okay? So I'm gonna get it loaded where, you know, it looks about middle. And then I'm going to make sure that my thread is ready to go. And I'm going to put one piece underneath my presser foot and get it so that it's snug on this side of this little lip, okay? And then I'm going to take the second piece and I'm going to go up against the other side. Now, as you can see, what that's doing is it allows me to be sure that I'm getting that nice straight line. And I love it. But again, I am going to guide them next to it, but I don't want to push so I get puckers. I don't want to pull. I don't want to push this way. You're simply guiding. That's all we're doing. Got a little bling right here. There we go. Not that it matters. This is just for demonstration purposes, but you never know, especially with the black thread. That kind of ruined it all unless I have dark fabric. But here we go. Nice and easy. When I get to the end, simply going to cut the thread. I'm going to pull you out. Okay. And there we have it. I'm going to turn off my machine now so the light's not blinding you. But look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Nice and flat. It's going to stay together. Absolutely love using the blind hem foot. There's my general presser. There's my blind hem. See if I can pull you in just a little bit here. And you can actually see a little bit where they went together. But they're nice and flat, guys. Beautifully flat. Nicely done. And this is just one method that you can use to put your scraps together. Yep. Loving this. No waste. More money for fabric. But there we have it. So I will be there. I will be back. You'll see me in just a second. Okay, I hope you found that inspirational to go ahead and use up some of your batting scraps. Now, just an FYI, if you ever hear this term, Frankenbatting, that's what it is. That's what Frankenbatting is when you take your scraps, you do a little zigzag, kind of looks like Frankenstein kind of thing. So that's Frankenbatting. And I got to thinking, yes, I used black thread, so I won't be able to use that inside of a quilt necessarily because you may see it. But I need to make some practice sandwiches to do a little quilting to keep my skills up to par, or maybe I want to learn a new motif. So I'm going to make this bigger and keep adding onto it and make myself a little sandwich with some of my scraps so that I can get some free motion quilting in or some ruler work in just to keep those skills up to par. Now, if you have bigger pieces, by all means, you can sew those in together also. So whenever you're making any kind of batting from scraps, again, use the same kind, match your thread to the batting, and you'll know based on the size of the quilt just how big you're going to need it. Because, yeah, I might have a bucket full of scraps, but I also have those great big pieces that are much bigger, all folded up and stored in another area. So you can take as much and as different parts as you need and save a little money, guys, and use up those scraps so you have more money for more fabric, right? But that's what I got for this week. I will see you all later today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as usual, on Facebook. Link for that is down below for any live quilting and answers, as we're calling it. So a live Q&A, I'll be there for that. And in case there's something I may have forgotten to address, or I feel like I needed to explain a little more, sometimes I do that in those videos too. But that's it for this week. And if you have any comments or any suggestions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. You can email us or just come come on out to Facebook and we'd love to see you there. But at any rate, in all honesty, I truly hope that until next time, that you will continue to be inspired, productive, and ever so joyful. And may you never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. See y'all next week.